All right, guys. So welcome into the live stream. Sorry for the Genesis Invitational. Here we are going to recap the round one and round two, and also kind of go over the cut sweat that we have going here for the weekend. Overall, it's pretty solid. But there are some players that missed a cut. Obviously, Carlos Ortiz was the tease this week. I know you guys like that, but he really was. When I recorded my video yesterday, Carlos Ortiz was in firm position to make the cut, and then I finished the video, and then I saw he was +4. He was +1 when I started the video. I'm like, all right, he's having kind of a bad day. He's going to go out and have a better day. The next day, obviously, he did do that. He went -2, had a bunch of opportunities. I was feeling pretty good about him. Played him in Showdown a ton. It's going to be a profitable week for Showdown Slate round 2 because I was on Carlos Ortiz, I was on Xander Schauffele, and then I was on Sam Burns. Kind of recapping what we talked about in yesterday's video is that those guys were all going to be solid plays in this round 2 showdown, so it's easy for cash. Infamous says, what a day. Really it is, though. It's a crazy day. For me personally, my best build that I have going, Sergio Garcia, 10-foot putt on 18. Needs to make birdie to lock in a make cut. Puts it to 2 inches out to probably miss the cut. That hurt. And that lineup has Neiman. It has Clark, Sam Burns, I think Patrick Cantlay, and then I forget who like the other ones are. But pretty much it's Sergio Garcia makes the putt. I was set up pretty well. But let's get into kind of the breakdown, the player pool, and then we'll kind of just recap or preview the weekend here. So just recapping it here real quick, guys. The outright bets that we're on right now have a great chance of really going out and cashing. So obviously, Sam Burns was on the short list. Jason Kokrak looking like solid. Joaquin Neiman really solid there as well. Bryson missed a cut, but Patrick Cantlay looking good. DJ looking good. James Hahn really showing some upside. -5 today so far. And once again, I'm doing this live. When I'm recording the video, I don't see what's actually going on, so I don't exactly know what's going on there. Appreciate that. Live cut sweat shows are kind of just fun in general. Kind of about an hour here. I don't know, just kind of a fun thing to do. Troy Cole, no, +2 is not going to make the cut, unfortunately. +1 might, but I think it's like pretty much 70% chance or so that even par is going to make the cut, unfortunately. So that means Carlos Ortiz is going to miss the cut, which, man, Carlos Ortiz just kind of, not to play on the words again, but really just the tease, honestly, like this week. And I hate the DraftKings pricer. Who's ever in charge of it this year has been doing a great freaking job because it's pissing me off. The 8K to like pretty much the 8K range where Carlos Ortiz was right in there this year, it's been like, hey, here's some fruit here. Do you want to take the fruit? Because this fruit is either going to go sour on you or it's going to be the best thing you've ever had. Because either they missed the cut and we had no reason to fade them, or they make the cut and go on and get a top 5 finish. That was Carlos Ortiz this week. It's like we had no reason to fade Carlos Ortiz other than the fact that we had no reason to fade Carlos Ortiz. And that's kind of been the theme of 2021. It's like, can you reward us for really being on someone like Sam Burns, who in cash, I think he was like 5% owned in GPPs, 10% owned, where this week for us, he was a high exposure play, which means we're on him in at least 30% of our builds. It's like, can you stop getting us with the Carlos Ortiz's when we're really dominating everywhere else? It's kind of given really annoying there. Like Joaquin Neiman there, Cameron Tringale, easy play. Sergio Garcia missed the cut once again. That's most likely missed a cut. Ortiz did screw us. It's the Ortiz screw job. WWE fans are familiar with that. What was it? Bret Hart screw job? No, that's not what it was. I can't think of it. Not Bret Hart screw job. It was the other guy who was wrestling then. Oh, I can't think of it. This is bad. Michaels? Not Garrett Michaels. Who's the Michaels freaking WWE fan? I did kind of warn you guys, though, about Carlos Ortiz. It's really been the theme with 2021. It's been a strange theme. And it's not going to continue, hopefully. That's what we hope, but it's been a weird theme. But as you guys can see here, really, pretty much solid overall. Bryson missed the cut, but, if you paid up for DJ or John Rahm, you probably couldn't fit Bryson in there. My kind of overall approach was go Xander Cantlay, and you felt pretty good about that. And then I was trying to, mix in one of these guys down here. But overall, pretty solid overall. Still looking at it. Sink doing well, value-wise. Fear doing well. Neesmith doing well. Dug in. Maybe he'll make the cut. He ended up being a little bit more high owned than I thought he would be. Patrick Rogers doing well. I didn't see Taylor. Didn't see the end result for Pat Perez. It's a decent week going into it. Have a bunch of 6 for 6. Shawn Michaels. Sorry. Thank you, Infamous. Man, the Shawn Michaels, was it the Montreal Screwdriver? Oh, shit. Montreal Screwdriver. That's what it was, right? I can't remember. But yeah, definitely Shawn Michaels. My buddy's a big WWE fan. I don't know if you guys know him. Brooks Radio. He's been on here a few times. He's the one who got me into WWE, and he talks about that a lot. Rom had me worried most of the day. I wasn't too worried about Rom. DJ's obviously picking it up. No reason to fade DJ. That's the problem with the core plays, is that if they're core plays, for the most part, every week, except for really last week where they dominated, the core plays are going to be players that we have no real reason to fade. The high exposure plays, we have a little bit of doubt. And then the mid exposure plays are normally just either really safe plays or really high upside plays, which is what we see here. Jason Kokrak, high upside. James Hahn, high upside. Corey Connors, probably more of a safe play, was supposed to be. Wyndham Clark, high upside. There's kind of how it goes, but I don't know. It's definitely going to be an interesting week overall. I have a bunch of 6 for 6 lineups. I know my main lineup right now, looking like 5 out of 6, the top 100 right now. That's because I have Patrick Cantlay. That's because I had Neiman. That's because I had Sam Burns in it. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get into kind of the showdown picks for round 3 and round 4. So right now, Sam Burns is in first place, as we kind of all know. Let's switch slides, though. All right, so switching slides here. So yeah, Sam Burns is in first, which honestly, really not surprising. This guy has been pretty dominant. And I know, let's just go back to it real quick one more time. Sorry, guys. Let's go back to the write-up here. I put in there with Sam Burns. Hey, Burns is looking like a quality play this week. Unless you worry about him burning out, which was not a pun intended there, but he did play in 5 straight events. That's what you're kind of worried about there. But really, he had played well really this whole year. Good recent form. 3 straight made cuts of all over top 40 finishes. Made the cut here last year with a top 25 finish. And the surprising thing with Sam Burns was that he wasn't a top 10 stat fit, because the whole year he had been a top 10 stat fit. So for him to only rank out as a top 12 really was a good indication of how strong the field was. But he really was checking the boxes in the top 3 stats that we want him to. Ball striking and driving distance, he was top 10 in both of those. And then stroke gain approach, he was 57th. So it's really no surprise that he's on top of the leaderboard. Obviously, we really trusted him at 125 to 1. That seemed like way too low of odds for him. And that's kind of why we pulled the trigger on those odds. So hoping that he goes out and wins. And I don't know if you guys saw the tweet, but there's been 3 players at his current place or at his current score in this tournament. They've all finished first or second place. It was Mike Weir and like 2 other players. They all finished first or second. So kind of an interesting approach there, whether or not you want to cash out those tickets or kind of hold pat and see kind of what happens, see what the weekend brings you. But maybe I would cash him, because he ranks 167th in round 3 scoring and 144th in round 4 scoring. You talk about why he hasn't been able to dominate this year or maybe get a win this year. It's because he's kind of fallen apart in round 3 and round 4. That's really why Sam Burns has not had a win yet. Statistically speaking, the dude has been a stud. You look at all of his stats, the dude has been a stud. He just hasn't been able to come through in the weekend. So that's kind of the worry. He'll probably be a little bit more chalky on round 3. I don't know if we have to go that route, but let's just kind of get into the breakdown here. Players that let us down and players that will let you down in the weekend. So we'll just sort it by top 30 in the model. Once again, these are not all players that we were on in the player pool, because there's more to it than just a basic data breakdown here, but it gives you a general sense here. So let's just kind of sort it here by current place. All right, so players that are top 30 in the model. Sam Burns doing well. Jason Kokrak, second. Joaquin Neiman, second. Wyndham Clark, 6th. DJ, 6th. And then Cantlay and Taylor Gooch, both top 10 currently as of recording this video. Okay, so obviously there is some room for those players to do well. All of them are top 30. Jason Kokrak is one of those players that I got on a lot more as the week went on. He just seemed like a guy quietly checking all the boxes. Obviously, he's kind of out producing what he should be. He's kind of a poor man's version of Sam Burns, if you will, because he's expected to drop off as well. Hopefully Sam Burns doesn't blow up tomorrow. Man, honestly, infamous there. If Sam Burns doesn't kind of choke down the stretch here, going to be a good weekend. It really is. Sam Burns is really the make or break point, and I didn't think he would be. I thought he would be kind of one of those guys. Well, I kind of did, I guess. Yeah, I kind of did, I guess. Thought he would make the cut. I thought he had good upside. So, yeah, I guess I did kind of think he'd be an upside play, and I thought he'd make the cut. Just the interesting weekend, John, because you knew that it was going to be a week where there was going to be some variance. Some players were going to miss the cut that you just couldn't predict would miss the cut. And obviously that's what we got. And that's kind of why you play GPPs, and that's kind of why you edit your lineups one at a time when you max enter like 20 lineups or so or whatever. Have that main build and edit it one at a time. And that's why personally I have a decent amount of quality builds going as well. But just looking at it as a whole, the model did pretty well. We'll look at top 30. We have a decent amount of missed cuts. Doug we were on. Sergio, we were on. Colin Morikawa might make the cut. Emilio Grillo, we were not on. Abraham Answer, I got off of. Thankfully, I got on to, who was it? Max Homa. I was able to pay up for a decent amount, which was kind of surprising. And then Jason Kokrak a ton. So, hey, Abraham Answer, thank you very much for your Texas tweet on Wednesday saying that you were in the snow because I made a bunch of pivots. And I also paid down for Sam Burns in a lot, leaving a lot of salary because I was worried about Answer not having practice rounds. So, Answer, dude, you're clutch. Thank you very much for sending out that tweet on social media. Really appreciate that. It was great. I had him at like 30%, and I got down to like 7 or 8%. That was nice to see. Bryson, it was tough to fit him in with Patrick Cantlay and Xander. I did have a lot of him, but he's not going to hurt me that much. The player that's going to hurt me a lot is Carlos Ortiz. I chose to fade Bubba, chose to fade Doc Redman, faded Rory, faded JT, and faded Charles Howell. So, overall, looking pretty decent as a whole here going into the weekend. Have some upside in GPPs. I know I have a bunch of like top 200 lineups going in the max entry contest, so looking pretty good. But let's get into kind of the weekend thoughts here for round 3. Why would you lower it? No, you lower it. All right, so Smash Mouth Bucks, which kind of just, I don't like to see that. If that's a name play on the Tampa Bay Bucks, congrats to you. I'm a Packers fan. I live in Wisconsin, so pretty sweet there. But I guess that's why he went off of Sam Burns, because Bucks fan. You can't all be winning, can't all be having a great year. But still, 65%. Brian Harmon he's still going to make the cut, right? Brian Harmon wasn't the wrong play there. Let's see. Oh, he's not top 30 in the model. That's why he's not popping up. Let's see, though. Oh, okay. So Brian Harmon dude, you're good. Don't worry about it. I mean, that's fine. Probably a smart choice there. Not bad at all. And what is kind of interesting as a whole, though, is that whole price point range there of around 7.4 to like 7K. Let me just pull it up. The players I was on were Sam Burns, obviously. We'll pull him up. Kyle Stanley. Matt Jones. Then Wyndham Clark were kind of like the main 3. And they're all going to make the cut. Most likely. Don't want to jinx Matt Jones there, but they're all going to make the cut, which honestly, that's not how it's supposed to work. As you get lower in the salary, it's supposed to be less predictable. But really, this whole 2021 year, not season, but the year, it's been, hey, pay down as much as you can, and you're good to go. It's been a weird season in that sense. A first, dude. Hey, I hope you get that one. That'd be pretty sweet. That'd be pretty awesome to see there. But let's get into kind of the weekend picks here. So we'll focus on round 3, and then we'll get into round, obviously, the weekend in general. So just got to say, Stuart Sink, really, he's the biggest cut sweat we have going. If he makes the cut, it's going to be a pretty solid week overall. If he doesn't, it might be a little interesting, but still, I want the top 9 to 5 value play to make the cut once again. Just kind of going over it. Sink, Fierik's looking like he's going to make the cut. Matthew Naismith, last I checked, he was doing well. Rogers doing well. Perret, I have to check that as well. But, the value plays are, for the most part, doing well. And that's where I take the most pride because that's the biggest separation point. So let's see. All right, so just looking at round 3 rank, Russell Henley ranks first on tour. Russell Henley, as a whole, top 35 in the model, but a top 6 stat rate play. -1, yeah, that tells me he's going to be a solid play for us, really, for round 3 rank. That is a play that we just get your little notebook out, write his name down. That's a play that you're going to want to go back to, is Russell Henley there. Brooks Koepka, wow, really? That's a little bit shocking to me. Brooks Koepka, huh? Where is he? He played well. 15th. So Brooks Koepka, really? Okay, I'm fine with that. Brooks has been playing great golf recently, so I'm looking at Russell Henley, Brooks Koepka. If you guys want a value play, Wesley Bryan. We know Wesley Bryan has had some GPP upside. Kind of had a nice little lull in there, like for about, I guess, a month. But started the season, the dude was kind of elite, fell off. Now he's looking like a good play again. So Wesley Bryan, I wouldn't mind that much. Kevin Na, not really going with that. Sergio obviously missed the cut. I'm not sure where Russell Knox is. Well, let's just sort by current placer just to make sure that we got kind of the top 50 per se. Don't want any missed cuts in there. So Joaquin Niemann. Okay, so that we get the picture down now. So for round 3, Russell Henley, Wesley Bryan, Brooks Koepka, Joaquin Niemann, DJ. Don't really feel Mackenzie Hughes, wasn't really on him. Matthew Wolff, I'm really hoping that he misses the cut. I don't want people to get rewarded for their Matthew Wolff play. I just don't. Not a good play there. If they get rewarded for Matthew Wolff this week, I'm going to be kind of pissed off. I really hate when people make a bad play and they get rewarded for it. So honestly, I don't want him to make the cut because I really, like I said, it pisses me off when people get rewarded for a bad play. That's just me. But also, good for those guys for taking the risk. But Will Zalatoris, he rated out really well in the model this week. Been playing well. Could see it. Max Homa, really. Top 24. James Hahn as well. So James Hahn, I would actually really believe that. So he's struggling in round 1. Has great course history. Playing well in round 2. Round 3, it really wouldn't surprise me if he goes off and has a much better weekend. So honestly, like Russell Henley, maybe Brooks, I wasn't on Brooks this week because you can't play everyone. Like at some point you have to choose to fade someone. And for the most part, 9 to 5 did a great job of who to fade. But Brooks and Jordan are both back. Like those two guys are playing phenomenal. It's safe to say they're back. So Brooks I'd be fine with. Neiman I'm definitely going to be on. So if I had to rank the players here listed, it'd be Henley, Neiman, DJ, James Hahn. That'd be the route that I would go. Yeah, Homa really has been solid. He's kind of one of those anomalies, and he's kind of one of those reasons why I'm going to add in kind of recent form data, like Strauss-Kane data recently over the season. So we can kind of see when a player like Max Homa, I mean, you can tell. Statistically, we can tell, but to have those data points to go off of, I'm going to add that in there eventually here in the next month, maybe 2 months. I'm going to have that in there here shortly to be able to just say, hey, we can see it statistically, but obviously it's pretty obvious when someone like Max Homa rattles off 3 straight top 20 finishes. Obviously he's playing a lot better. So Victor Hovland, Infamous got lucky with Brendan Steele. Hey, what was his ownership on FanDuel? I'm kind of curious about that because obviously he was a guy that was going to be right around the cut line. And he's working out for you. I'm kind of curious what his ownership was on FanDuel. But let's pull up Victor Hovland. Mikey's wondering about him. Let's see. So he's through 11 on this. He's probably through 13 now since I've updated this. Once again, I update this at the end of the rounds, but currently in second or 22nd place. Round 2 is obviously his best round. 35th for round 3, though. That's not bad. He could have a big, or not a big, but a solid round 3. Don't expect him to have a good round 4, though. And which kind of is a good segue into the weekend picks. Which, I don't know if you guys did the weekend picks last week, but that was pretty solid as a whole as well. So we'll get into that as well here. Like round 2 is kind of the money round because it's kind of easier to predict. Once again, Xander kind of had an off day. Round 1, easy to predict that he was going to have a better round 2. Same thing for Carlos Ortiz, had a better round 2, -2. That was easy to predict. And then who else was there? Sam Burns kind of continued that. I honestly did not see him going -5 today. I thought it'd be like -2, but he's playing great golf. Lots of opportunities for him. Wow, 20% for Brendan Steele on FanDuel. I get it. Guy right around the cut projection-wise at minimum price. That is tough to pass up on. That's just interesting, though, as a whole. So happy hour-wise, guys, by the way, I did post a tweet out there. Got about like 5 people messaging me this. But it was like an hour and a half before the live stream started, so I just went with the gin and Fresca combo. Need to come up with a name for this. This is the Finn Dawson special. But try to do like an IPA or a beer taste test every Friday. A little happy hour at 9 to 5 there. But looking at the weekend picks here, let's see. So weekend-wise, Russell Henley, Wesley Bryan, Brooks Koepka. So if you guys are thinking about maybe doing some live bets, maybe a little bit of Brooks there. Rocky Neiman, though, you guys probably already bet Joaquin Neiman a decent amount. Probably don't have to do that, but if you guys wanted to, you could live bet him. Wouldn't be shocking to see him have a better weekend round. DJ, if you guys wanted to maybe get better odds on him, you could. I don't like Mackenzie Hughes. He's played well throughout the weekend, but I don't really like him. Matthew Wolff, not feeling Matthew Wolff. Will Zalatoris, I do like Will Zalatoris. Max Homa, probably going to fall off in round 4. And then James Hahn, I do like James Hahn a decent amount, actually, to kind of maybe top 10. Not a bad pick overall as a whole. I will just look at kind of round 4 and see just as a whole kind of what we can expect. Are there any new updates? Where's Stuart Sink at, guys? I'm kind of curious. If he makes the cut, once again, going to be a decent week. But round 4. Wesley Bryan, I think that this is only like 2 tournaments worth here for Wesley Bryan because like when Wesley Bryan has played well, he's really kind of dominated. And when he hasn't, he just hasn't. Maybe that's a good thing for him, though, going into, the weekend. Joaquin Neiman, once again, DJ, not surprising. Kevin Struman. So Kevin Struman was one of those players where he was kind of priced up a little bit too much for me, kind of given the course fit for him, but he was in good recent form. Might be a nice little round 4 showdown pick. Brooks, once again, popping up. Matthew Naismith, I really hope he makes the cut. Russell Henley and Jim Furyk. Jim Furyk might be a staple for kind of the weekend. Could be as whole. But let's just kind of get into the players that are due to regress heading into the weekend, and then we'll kind of wrap this bad boy up. All right, round 2, round 3. Get those all back in there. All right, so who are the players that are really in the top, 25, let's do that, that are outside of the top 40 in the model? We'll do 50. We'll be generous. All right, so players that are currently in the top 25 that are also less than top 50 in the model. These are the players that are most likely due to regress. All right, so Matthew Fitzpatrick and Jordan Spieth. I don't exactly agree with that. This is where you have to kind of separate yourself from the data. Jordan Spieth has been playing great golf the last 2 tournaments, and I think he's gonna continue to play well. And just looking at round 3 and round 4, those have been his best tournaments so far this season. So I expect that to continue with him. Matthew Fitzpatrick, yes, his best round has been round 2, so it's kind of not shocking that he had a solid round 2 going. Really a solid tournament overall, but I do expect him to kind of fall off. But once again, that's not really fair for a player like his caliber. He could fall off. Sink is in trouble. Never mind. I didn't ask how Sink was doing. I didn't want to know that. Never mind. But Tyler McCumber. So Tyler McCumber was kind of an interesting play. I actually kind of want to pull him up here on the data sheet. I'm actually going to do that here. So let's pull him up because Tyler McCumber, the dude hits it a ton off the tee. Distance-wise, it's probably going to fall off here, but he's a guy that does hit it long off the tee. It's not shocking to see him doing well. Like him and Scott Harrington are both guys that just absolutely can rip the ball off the tee if it loads. Once again, going live, the data typically takes a while to load. So Tyler McCumber will pull him up. I just want to see his driving distance here. Because honestly, guys, it's really not shocking for a guy with his distance to really be playing well for a couple of rounds. So top 20 in driving distance for Tyler McCumber. Like, it's not shocking for him to have a couple of good rounds using that driving distance to his advantage on a course like this. It's not going to continue. And kind of probably the same thing for Scott Harrington, who is minimum price, who also went out and played well. I don't expect that to continue for those two, and that's why you can see here, just based off their rankings in round 4 and round 3, those two are most likely going to fall off. That's not going to be a surprise at all. Yeah, but so Mikey, so Fitzpatrick is not a bomber, but Fitzpatrick really does do well on difficult courses, you know, like hard courses. So in that sense, it's like he could stay there. Like that wouldn't be surprising because he always does play well in more difficult events, difficult courses. So I could see him like kind of holding on there. Cameron Smith, don't mind him, but Alexander Norn or Alex Norn, probably going to fall off a little bit there, as you guys can see. Tyler Duncan, wow, good for him. He's going to fall off there. Sung Kang, this is where we kind of have to get a little bit different with the data, with what it's telling us, because Sung Kang, great course history here. This was something that was brought up in the 9 to 5 chat. Who did we bring up? It was like JB Holmes, Sung Kang, Pat Perez, and then there's like one other. But like these guys in value tier range that were like quality plays, 2 because they had good course history, and 1 because they were in decent recent form, decent staff fit. They're all doing pretty well. So, you know, I could see him continuing. Andrew Landry probably going to fall off. Kiao Hung Lee, maybe decent. You know, decent round 3, decent round 4 rank. JB Holmes, you know, once again, going back to the course history, wouldn't be surprising if he has a decent round. Then Matt Jones, we actually were on. He had been in good recent form and was a, you know, fine stat fit, you know, top 35. You know, he could be a solid weekend pick for you guys actually as a whole. So honestly, like those picks are not going to be bad for you guys at all. But honestly, I really expect Sam Burns to kind of hold what he currently has going. Once again, kind of going back to the data point, the players that are at his current score on the course have had a first or second place finish. There's only been 3 players. He's the 4th person to be at minus 12 heading into the weekend. But they've all finished second or first. And that's not really fair because one of the players or 2 of the players were facing each other that same year. So that year probably played a little bit easier, but they finished first and second. So that being said, Sam Burns is in a great spot to win. But also that being said, we were on Sam Burns, we were on Jason Kokrak, Joaquin Neiman, Wyndham Clark, DJ as outright bets, and Patrick Hanley as well. So either way, it should be a decent like week as a whole if one of those guys go out and wins. Yeah, the whole Tyler McCumber story, that's a good point there. Some of you guys might not have seen that story with Tyler McCumber. And we'll kind of wrap it up with this story. There's not any more questions. So Tyler McCumber, I forget which finger it was, but the dude had to tear off his whole fingernail apparently. Had to get surgery on it. And like, I don't know if you guys have ever cut your fingernail too close. That shit hurts if you ever cut your fingernail too close. Like, that shit freaking stings. Like, apparently he had it, surgery on it, got it like numbed up a little bit, and he's playing well. So honestly, that is a pretty darn cool story. But that is all I have for you guys for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys have a good weekend. If you guys want to join 9 to 5 Nation, links in the description below. Hope we keep cashing this week. It's looking decent. A lot of 5 out of 6, some 6 out of 6. But the 4 out of 6 lineups are like, all of them are top 5, the players that made the cut. So it's a very interesting week. Going to be a strong weekend, or interesting weekend as a whole. we'll see what it comes with that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out the round 3 showdown or round 4 showdown picks for tomorrow.